let's get divorced."
My husband solemnly handed me a sheet of paper. I bit my lip, holding back the rising emotions, and looked down. Finally, this day has come. It was all I could do to conceal the smile that almost spilled out involuntarily. I'm Jasmine. I've been married to my husband Stephen for almost 3 years now. We met at work. It all started when he joined the company as a new employee and I was assigned as his trainer. He wasn't great at work, but he was obedient and knew how to seek affection, so even after I finished training him and he moved to a different department, I still liked him. Before I knew it, I was being invited out more often after work. I gave in to his persuasion and started dating him. At that time, I was 27 years old. I hesitated to date someone younger because I wanted to get married early. But he seemed eager to marry soon. And before I knew it, our relationship progressed, and we were married a year later. I thought it might be too soon, but considering the marriage rush around us and my desire to have children by age 30, I thought, well, why not? I thought we'd be a great family because he's affectionate like a big puppy, and I'm caring, being the oldest of 3 siblings. I switched to a job with good benefits and regular hours just in case we had children, to be ready whenever children came along. Before we knew it, the honeymoon phase had passed and I was almost 31. But we didn't have any children, because I regretted this marriage. Children would become a burden in the event of divorce.
"I'm home."
After finishing his night shift, Stephen immediately took off everything from his socks to his shirt at the entrance, tossed his bag, and headed straight to the living room. Really? Wash your hands and tidy up your things before coming here.
"But it's so hot."
With just his underwear on, Stephen lowered the air conditioner temperature and sat comfortably in front of the fan. Since there's no helping it, I set the prepared meal on the table and headed to the entrance. When I returned after collecting the discarded clothes, Stephen had already started eating. We promised to eat together, remember?
"I smelled something delicious, so..."
With a satisfied expression, he chewed on the fried chicken while I sighed and joined him at the table. After finishing the meal without bothering to clean up, he took a bath and stayed up late playing games. Of course, in the morning I had to wake him up several times. He's like a grade schooler. Now I feel like a grade schooler would be more independent. He's too childish. At work, even if he's not good at his job, he's serious and consults me properly when he doesn't understand something, so there's no problem. But at home, he doesn't do anything. He just relies on me completely. It feels more like being his mom than his wife. His cute personality from when we dated has turned negative since we got married, and now it's just stressful every day. Normal people might wonder why I didn't realize this when we were dating. How could I have known he'd be so clueless and immature? I never imagined having kids with someone who can't do anything more than a child. But my husband's mom doesn't seem to mind. No children yet? My mother-in-law, carrying my husband's favorite snacks, storms our home. I'm sorry, I've been busy with work. This is not the time to be so leisurely. You're old enough, so quit your job and work harder. I want children too, mother-in-law. But I can't raise a child with your son. Even though I almost blurt out my true feelings, I endure because I don't want to stoop to her level. That's why I would have preferred a younger bride. Yeah, that's right. My father-in-law and my 2 sisters-in-law congratulated me, but you were the only one who glared at me.
Well, Mom, she's trying her best.
You're just too kind. Hey, clean up those dishes with those sad-looking leaves. I'll order your favorite pizza for today.
Hey, Mom's ordering pizza for us.
Mother-in-law brimming with malice and a husband who innocently rejoices. This is how my husband, spoiled by his mother, turned out. My mother-in-law seems to have spoiled and pampered my husband, who is her only son, excessively. As a result, my father-in-law and sisters-in-law seemed to be neglected. If I have a son with my husband, I fear my mother-in-law will spoil him excessively, taking him away from me. This is one of the reasons why I don't want to have children. To be honest, I want a divorce. But if I use "I'm tired of taking care of my husband" as a reason, I might end up being seen as irresponsible and selfish, having to pay alimony. I even hope my husband would cheat on me, but that's not happening either. He seems to genuinely love me. While that sounds nice, just because he loves me doesn't mean he can do whatever he wants. Besides, it's comfortable for him here in this house where I do everything, so he probably doesn't want to go anywhere else. I don't particularly hate my husband, nor do I want to hurt him, so I've been unable to bring myself to divorce him. I just don't see any hope for a future with him. However, my dissatisfaction and stress have been piling up, on the verge of exploding.
Hey, do I have to join in on your dad's 60th birthday celebration?
One night after dinner, my husband, fiddling with his phone on the sofa, asked me in a cajoling tone. Why? You said you would join.
I've been busy with work lately and I'm tired, you know?
I understand that you're tired. But my sister-in-law and my brother are coming from far away, and even I attended your mother's 60th birthday celebration last year. Remember?
Yeah, but...
The hesitant tone of my husband pierced through to the real reason. Is there some event coming up in your smartphone game?
Yes. By participating in this event, you can get rare items.
My husband's face lit up and he enthusiastically began talking about the importance of this event. I don't know about the game, but he wants to cancel his father-in-law's celebration for such a thing. I was trembling with anger at the thought. Which is more important, the game or my father's 60th birthday celebration? I've supported you a lot since we got married, and even that big TV you're always watching was a gift for my father for our new home. My husband seemed to realize, for the first time, that I was genuinely annoyed, as his eyes darted around nervously. He hurriedly went to take a bath and went to bed as if he was running away. Perhaps he realized how unreasonable he was being. I foolishly hoped for it, but I was wrong. Are you trying to force my tired son to go to your parents' house? Don't be selfish and drag him around. The next day I received an angry call from my mother-in-law. As my mother-in-law yelled at me with her loud voice, I noticed that my love for my husband, which had almost disappeared, and my energy were slowly disappearing too. Oh, it's over. I want to break up. Now, let's split up. Child rearing will eventually end, but raising my husband has no end in sight. Moreover, it's impossible to raise my husband with my mother-in-law getting in the way. The thought of spending my life taking care of this man gives me chills. I don't want to sacrifice any more of my life for such a man. I'll be free. Just as I made up my mind, a devil-like angel appeared before me.
Do you remember Samantha? The one who joined the company 2 years after me? She's been assigned to my department now.
My husband, who usually only talks about games, unusually brought up a topic about work with me. Samantha. I remember her. She's practically a celebrity. Beautiful and clever like an idol and employee. Thinking back to her when she was my junior, I suddenly had an idea. That's right, I'll ask for help from Samantha. Suddenly, it felt like a light had appeared at the end of a tunnel in front of me. From that day on, I worked with all my might to turn my husband into a good man, at least in appearance. For him who can't even choose his own clothes, I prepared stylish suits and crisply ironed shirts every day. When bonuses came, I splurged and bought him a brand name watch. Every morning I put together fancy lunches that looked like they were crafted with love by a devoted wife for everyone to see. I instructed him to bring home any work he couldn't handle, and I took care of it for him. I increased his pocket money to emphasize his financial freedom. Originally, my husband had a good face and was tall. In no time, he became the perfect loving husband and capable boss. Gradually, even his actions changed in response to becoming such a wonderful man. He, who used to love staying at home, started coming home late and ignoring me. And 6 months later, my husband who handed me divorce papers was standing in front of me. Of course, next to him was Samantha, and my overprotective mother-in-law had come along too. And do you like her? I tremble as I suppress the urge to laugh with joy. My husband solemnly nods, perhaps misunderstanding my silence.
I'm sorry, but you're strong, so you don't need me, right? She's fragile and weak. She can't live without my support.
His foolish romantic declaration makes me want to burst out laughing. It's amazing that Samantha could turn such a spoiled husband into a knightly handsome man. She looks at me with apologetic moist eyes. I'm sorry for hurting you, Jasmine, but please forgive me. I found true love. As Samantha continues, my mother-in-law interjects. There's no need for you as the daughter-in-law to apologize like this. If a young and beautiful girl becomes my son's wife, our family would gladly welcome her. So please, let's part ways. Since it would seem suspicious if it's just the two of them, I've come along. The three of them, like characters in a cheesy drama, revel in portraying me as the unlikable wife. It sends a shiver down my spine, but for now I'll play along. As much as it pains me, I understand. They make a perfect match. But I won't back down. I'll still be taking alimony. Oh, goodness. You can only think about money, can't you?
Come on, Mom. Living alone as a woman must be tough, right? I'll pay the alimony. And of course, I'll take care of her, too.
Stephen. His enamored gaze at her and the proud look of my mother-in-law. My husband shining brighter than ever in our married life. Everything's falling into place, and finally I can divorce. Everyone's happy. It's a win-win situation. What a perfect ending it seems to be. I decided to claim alimony, aside from the standard division of shared property, and stamped the divorce papers. A week later, it seemed my ex-husband and his new partner got married. I wondered if it was alright for them to marry so soon after the divorce, but it seems they wanted to prove their bond on Valentine's Day, the day of love. It's like watching a comedy, but it works well for me too. Before they wake up from their dream, I'll make my escape. 2 years have passed since then. My transfer request was approved, and now I work from a city just a plane ride away from where my ex-husband and I used to live. I've picked up hobbies I abandoned during my marriage, and even found some lovely new acquaintances there. A man who divorced for similar reasons as I did. At first, we just exchanged complaints, but as we spent time together, we grew attracted to each other. Unlike my ex-husband, he can take care of himself and handle household chores. Above all, he is good at pampering me, and even I, who had never been good at relying on anyone, have become completely attached to him. Even at a time like this, my mother-in-law reaches out to me. My son got divorced. Oh, it happened later than I thought. You knew that woman was a little devil, didn't you? What are you talking about? I pretended not to understand. Samantha was popular among male employees as a beautiful and considerate woman. Samantha was famous among female employees for loving to steal other people's boyfriends. I vividly remembered how she quickly stole my colleague's boyfriend soon after joining the company. Rumors spread about her low-quality man-sampling, and sensible male colleagues started to keep their distance. But it seems my ex-husband didn't know about it. So I ended up crafting him into a charming stranger's husband who she'd want to snatch away. The result was even better than I imagined. That woman, always selfishly demanding things like wanting a lavish wedding or insisting on brand name engagement rings. Despite us putting up the money, she never listened to me, never took care of my son. And to top it all off, she cheated. Now that sounds tough. I knew all about her misdeeds that my mother-in-law listed out. I heard various stories about her from her superiors, who were my former colleagues. I didn't explain the reason for the divorce to anyone, but if my ex-husband remarries another woman within the next week, everyone will understand the situation. People with common sense starting distancing themselves from my ex-husband and her. Even the company couldn't trust important tasks to such unfaithful and thoughtless individuals. They were like sitting on a bed of nails in the workplace. Their happy newlywed life lasted only for the first month. My ex-husband, who was being relied on for the first time, got tired of her incredibly selfish behavior. Even he must have been surprised when her fake charm wore off, revealing her immature and sloppy personality. A man who can't do anything without his wife's help, a foolish man who spends money only on games without any sense of planning, and that wicked woman. My husband indulges in snacks and games in a dirty room while his wife, ignoring him, goes out and comes home late. Their life collapsed in no time within this self-defeating scenario. Since my son couldn't say it, I kicked her out. Honestly, how did she grow up so tactless? My former mother-in-law is fuming on the other end of the phone. Your son also cheated. You praised him for it, didn't you? When I made a sarcastic comment, that's because you lack initiative. Even my ex-mother-in-law is aware that she's been abandoned by her rational husband and daughters. They're now separated and heading for a divorce. I learned this from my ex-father-in-law himself, who apologized to me and informed me after the divorce. What business do you have with such an incompetent ex-daughter-in-law? You wouldn't dare suggest he comes back, would you? The one who drove your son to divorce again without telling him anything about that wicked woman? You're probably going to tell him to come back and take responsibility for that. I sensed my ex-mother-in-law's intentions, so I took the initiative. You're not that shameless, are you? Don't you dare insult me like that. Who would rely on a woman like you? If it were my son, he'd find a cuter and more obedient girl. Seems like I hit a nerve. Seems like my ex-mother-in-law didn't like being hit on the nose with the truth, as she hung up the phone rather abruptly. With her pride as high as ever, she probably won't be contacting me for a while. I can't imagine any normal woman being attracted to my ex-husband. With his belly full of flab from neglecting his health, and his complexion pale from late-night gaming, it's no wonder. Every so often I get messages from my ex-husband like, "Come over and cook for me," or, "I still love you the most after all." Meanwhile, that wicked woman only messaged me saying, "Please pay compensation and I'll return your husband." They're both childish and self-centered, so in a way they're a perfect match. Well, being relied upon by someone is a happy thing, though. Now that I've found someone I can rely on, I can understand my ex-husband's feelings a little bit. But a marriage can't work without equality. Breaking up was truly the best decision. It feels like a waste, those 3 years I spent enduring and the time and effort I put into the divorce. But I'm grateful to my ex-husband for making me realize what truly matters in married life. I glance at the man who will be my new husband. With him, I can build a wonderful family. And one day we'll be able to make our future child happy, because I met someone like him.